Hello and welcome. Today I'm bringing you a blast from the past, which is a carrier match from the beta. I believe this is actually from the closed beta. I mean, look at this. This is the Taihou, the Japanese tier 9 carrier. And this is from a time when matchmaking wasn't nearly as equal. We have Lexington and the Taihou. They have an Essex, but they have two more players. And this is from a time when carriers were a lot more powerful. I mean, I have 4 torpedo bombers and 3 dive bombers, although, to be fair, the dive bombers are incredibly weak, or were incredibly weak. You will see when I do the drop.
Group 2, standing by for instructions. Over. Group 3, awaiting instructions.
At this time, the plan is to immediately strike the enemy carrier because no fight this means that that's essentially the only chance you will have to actually defend your ship, or planes, I guess. And also notice what kind of map I am on, and this is in a tier 9 game, so this is also something that doesn't happen anymore. I actually really like this map in higher tiers. Only complaint I have is that it should be a tiny bit bigger. But oh, and of course there's the blue line hugging, because doing a torpedo bomber strike against the blue line is a lot harder, and that was the main reason to do so, because carrier first strikes were incredibly common. So essentially I'm literally just flying through the map and going straight for their carrier, or where I imagine their carrier will be. Also notice how large the actual drop is. Like, look at this, and those are Amagis, which means that they're big ships. So there's quite a bit of guessing and RNG involved, and it wasn't the best. Look at what the Essex is doing. He's flying his planes in almost the same way that I am. But I started earlier, so too bad. And that's the first strike, and this is the kind of thing that why I always was against carrier first strikes, because the only thing that could defend you, and it's still true actually, is another cruiser, or friendly cruiser. And well, there goes the Essex's 99.9% HP or something. 11 torpedo bomber hits. And now it's time to do a dive bomber follow-up. I have 14 dive bombers here. Look at the circle size, and this is a manual drop. If they are panicked, the drop circle is larger than the actual attack circle. Okay, the first dive bomber completely missed. I will do an automatic drop, because we still had the bug where planes would start doing these random circles. And out of 14 dive bombers, 1 bomb hit. 1! But it still managed to take out the Essex, so now I can come out from the blue line, because the Essex first strike on me is not an issue anymore. And now it's time to hunt other types of ships, because it seems the enemy team actually isn't doing all that much defending of one another, because they would have defended the carrier. And well, they have a lot of battleships like Amagis, which aren't the best at fighting off a Taihou, or Taihou planes. I mean, they have a Des Moines, but he is in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, essentially this is why I liked the Japanese carriers at that point, because they were less RNG based. The torpedo bomber part, the dive bomber part, was completely useless. But it's not like US dive bombers were any better at that time, so kinda made sense. But yeah, now I'll just sail closer by to the island so that I can do the attacks faster. Also, I just remembered I actually have a Lexington friend here as well. I guess he really liked the drop too. I pulled these dive bombers actually off so that they don't take any time landing, so that I can cycle my torpedo bombers faster, because dive bombers are worthless, essentially anyway. I guess one thing that I would do now would, if I were in this situation, would be to scout for the destroyers. But I mean, it is what it is. It's an old game, so I might not have known all the nice things to do. I mean, the game has come quite far. Actually, to be honest, at this point, not all that much has changed. Like, the atmosphere has changed only a tiny bit for the game. Balance-wise, it has changed quite a bit. I don't know if it's better, because, to be honest, I thought these carriers were fine. Like, I didn't see a problem with them, because, I also played battleships at the time, and I never had an issue. Like, I was never killed in a strike outright like that, or almost never. I can't say that it definitely never happened, but I can't remember a single instance of it ever happening. So, I don't know. Many people had issues. Like, if I did a strike on them, they were often complaining. But this kind of a strike never happened against me, because they would always miss or something like that. But anyways, can't do a strike against a defensive fighter. Not really anyway. And I mean, think about this fact that these ships are lower tier than I am. But look at how large this attack circle is when it's panicked. I mean, but I guess it might have been a bit too powerful on average because of strikes like that. But yeah, my main suggestion to curb look at the size of the attack circle. Damn. But my main suggestion nowadays to curb complaints that we had even at this point is to, well, try to somehow make it so that carrier strikes are spaced out more. Like, experiment somehow with things like giving them, I don't know, unlimited planes or something, but making it so that you actually, you know, the carrier actually has to send like one squad at a time, or maybe it's not that he has to, but it makes the most sense. For instance, making it so that when I have a squadron takeoff, then the next squadron of the same plane type has like an extra, I don't know, 45 seconds to a minute cooldown before it can launch again. I don't know, call it setting up time or whatever. Because that way you couldn't like get all these planes together. People have complaints like, oh, it's silly that you can gather up your planes and then attack together with them, but to be honest, the planes could just be a tiny bit behind one another and it would still be the same, or at different altitudes. So it makes sense that these planes could be together this much, because the planes are tiny. But I mean, the complaints would still be there, I guess. It's just that if you spaced out the attacks by carriers onto enemies more, people would understand that carriers take a lot of time to do a strike. Like, a lot of time. So that wouldn't seem like it's some kind of decision and suddenly they're dead. Like it could feel like for them that they could like get into a better position to ward off carrier strikes in the future, or you know, anything like it.
We're under attack. Group 5.
Because right now a big complaint is that, or in the past, and I guess right now too, is that carriers, when a carrier does a strike against you, it can often just take you out outright, and that's it.
Group 2 returning. Group 4 returning to ship. Group 5 returning.
But I mean, some people like it, I don't. It would also help against the carrier first strike issue that currently exists and has existed for a long time, because that's actually a big part why I don't like playing carriers. I don't know what to do about the fighter issue though, because fighters are still incredibly annoying to play against.
Group 7 returning to
And there just isn't all that much you can do about them. But yeah, whatever. I've been just torpedoing things left and right and dive bombing, but dive bombers have been rather unsuccessful. If you look at it, 6 bomb hits. And I had 15 dive bombers total. Oh, that was 5 hits. Never mind. I guess RNG just smiled upon me. So yeah, the reason why I'm actually doing this kind of video, an old one, is that I noticed that in a week I will have played World of Warships for 1 year, so it seemed like an interesting thing to look out. I don't have all that much older footage because I just didn't actually record anything at that point, but I do have quite a bit about these kinds of battles. You know, the more interesting thing is that the Hakuryu was even worse at this point. Or, I don't know if we actually had Hakuryu yet, but the release Hakuryu had 5 torpedo bomber squadrons. 5 squadrons of torpedo bombers. And that was the big complaints about Japanese carriers. Still, I liked carrier play the most when it was Lexington's 220, because that was the most enjoyable time for carrier play in my opinion. Because that was when it wasn't all about the first strike and you know, you didn't have to prey on dive bomber RNG, and it was all about doing proper strikes with torpedo bombers. And it was a lot about positioning your planes, you know, torpedo bombers and fighters.
Group 5 taking fire.
But the game has changed a lot, especially for other ship types. It doesn't seem like it, but it really has.
Group 3, we're under attack. Group 2, returning to ship. Group 3, returning.
I don't know if it's for the better though. Well, another 11 hits on the Amagi. Can't hit the Des Moines or anywhere around him. Like, the main thing is that people often just didn't have any kind of anti-air layouts. Modules, upgrades, whatever, they just didn't have it. Nor did they actually usually know that you should click on planes to increase your AA DPS.
Group 6, awaiting instructions. Group 8, standing by for instructions. Over. Group 7, returning.
Look at the right corner, or bottom right corner. That's one of their battleships. I think he is trying to hug the corner as hard as possible. But imagine this match without my carrier. I think we would have been stomped really hard. Because even though I took out their carrier immediately, we are still going equal, even though I've killed 3 more ships on top of that. So it's not like the matches themselves weren't also rather close. Well, sometimes, not every time. Also, there's a DD ahead of me, which I didn't realize. So I select him for secondaries and hope for the best. I have to dodge these torpedoes, otherwise it's over. Luckily, I managed to do so, but I still lost half my HP. But luckily, half my HP isn't all of my HP, so now I just need to pick him up. And luckily my torpedo bombers were already in the air. Come on, secondaries, you aren't being all that useful right now. Oh, never mind. I take that back. Secondaries, you're amazing. So yeah, that Hatsuharu did manage to sink herself. It took a while, but the secondary still picked her off. So now it's time to go hunt the Iowa that kept running into the corner. So yeah, the Hatsuharu did try to attack, but the thing is that destroyers really shouldn't try to attack carriers, especially nowadays. Because it just doesn't make sense. There isn't all that much you should do. At lower tiers, yes, you could try it and you'd be successful too usually. But at higher tiers, it's not a good idea because of armored decks at the higher tiers. Which just means that DD caliber guns aren't gonna deal damage. This was true then and it's true now. So just stop doing it, please.
Group 5, we're under attack.
Group 6, awaiting instructions.
Group 3, taking fire. Group 4, we're under
So,
attack.
yeah.
Returning to ship.
Now it's just time to pick off the Iowa. Could have done a better job on the drop, but oh well, it happens. I do definitely like the change where if your squadron gets shut down, they have a large cooldown. That's an amazing change in my opinion, because it was incredibly annoying if losing a squadron was faster to get it up into the air than actually flying it back.
Group 6, we're under attack. Group 7, returning to ship. Group 8, returning.
Oh look,
Group 6,
13 dive
returning
bombers,
to
4
ship.
hits on a manual drop. And it wasn't a poor manual drop either, but it's okay. The Iowa's gonna burn down. Also, notice how there's no actual domination mode here. Or rather that there are no points in the caps. So if we don't manage to sink both of these ships, it's actually a draw. This was also a big complaint and I am glad they eventually fixed it. But this was the game. It shows. Also, there were no trees on the islands. Also, this shows that the game has come quite far. Like, the people who didn't like Harris have got their way quite a lot. 46 torpedo hits, 3,677 experience. This is 323,000 damage on the Taihou. It was quite a game. You're not really going to have these kinds of games nowadays. As the carrier player, it was rather enjoyable, but I imagine that the Essex dude did not have quite as much fun as I did. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe and thanks for watching.